back to the beginning of week 7. It is cold and wet and windy. We did survive Storm Nils. And I'm going to keep this one short because I'm freezing. We did sustain some damage during the storm. Our solar completely failed, so we did not have solar power when the grid was out. We did lose power for a total of about 65 hours, so almost 3 days. That was not fun. But let me go around and show you what happens. Okay, so out in the chicken coop, things mostly stayed together. I did lose my privacy screen up in here. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do. I'll probably end up just taking it down, but we'll see what happens. The biggest damage was up here in the coop, at least for me. So you can see that the galvanized tubing like completely buckled and sheared. So technically all I need to do is potentially like replace this piece and maybe replace that piece, and that'll be fine. But I've contacted the seller of this coop, and getting replacement parts may not be possible, which kind of blows my mind, but it is what it is. Out in the garden, nothing happened because the wind was insane, to say the least. Things got knocked down. This arch that I keep complaining about has like officially, completely, totally bitten the dust now. Thankfully, none of the trees sustained any damage. We did have 2 holes on the roof, but the roofers came out like literally the next morning and got those fixed up because obviously with the rain, we didn't want to have holes in the roofs. The chickens completely lost their tarp. We also ended up taking down the rain protection that was on that side because basically it was putting so much horizontal force here that it just wasn't sustainable. I'm going to try to figure out a way to reinforce the backside here because the wind definitely comes from the west and it's kind of infiltrating their house, and it's getting pretty wet in there, so I need to figure that out. I lost all of my solar because it was all connected to wires over here which sheared, and I think I might be able to splice them back together, but the weather hasn't really been such that I want to play around with that. Again, up there you can see that it's all messed up. Thankfully their netting seems to be pretty intact. There are some spots where it kind of like my little poles ate through the netting, so they're kind of going down, but overall it's still predator secure, so I don't have to worry about that yet. However, it's not so much on this side, it's more on the other side, but like some of these slats ended up getting damaged. So at some point I'll probably end up going through and reinforcing this entire enclosure for them to make sure that when we do get these strong winds, if any of these slats break and fly away, they're still secure in their space. I am planning on trying to get things set up for potatoes and carrots and like all the stuff in root row happening here. So that may or may not happen this week because, as I said before, we are expecting lots of rain, at least at the beginning of this week. My red car is still dead in the water. We have been using the blue car to bring all of our frozen food to his mom's and back. So we did get power restored last night. And then we spent the evening letting the freezers come back up to temperature. And then today we went and collected the food that we had brought over there. Otherwise, like, you know, we did all the normal stuff, like took out the trash. My fleece needs to get reorganized. Things over there are figuring themselves out. I am planning on redoing the seedling space inside the house because it's not working out for me. I did plant some seedlings recently, and some of them I might need to redo because since I didn't have electricity, that means I didn't have my lights, I didn't have my heat mats, and they got super leggy. So it is what it is. I need to kind of like figure out where I am with all of that and what I'm going to do from here on. Things on the docket this week. I need to get out and I need to prune this wisteria. I did prune the orchard. I did prune the grapevines that are along that space. So that's been done at least. There's a lot of little damage, like the gate up there. I'll throw in a picture. The metal sheared. Thankfully, we don't have that many trees. So the big one that we were worried about in the winds was this one, and it has stayed intact, which is more than I can say for a bunch of the other trees in the area. Other than that, there's really not much to say. It's just, it was kind of it was a wild and crazy week. So I'm glad to have the power back. We're going to spend this week cleaning up, assessing the damage, starting to repair some of the damage. The biggest thing for me is to figure out how I'm going to fix up the chicken space. And with all that, I guess I'll leave you with these flowers because they're kind of the nicest things that I can find at the moment. I hope you had a good one, and I'll see you next week. Bye.